Hey, good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking around for Live Impact News at 7 o'clock. I'm Vanessa Ruffes, taking over Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. Of course, we had his live weather impact half hour just this past half hour. So don't forget, you can check out Brad every time in that time slot. Every day during the weekday. So really cool launch that we're having for him, and he's just going to make us smart about weather. Speaking of weather, you know, after Helene, we've been doing some extensive reporting on the attempts to bounce back, and in some cases, yes, the recovery, the bounce back, but it's a slow-going process in some places, and in others, we're seeing the recovery is mostly underway. So we do want to make sure that we're constantly checking in with our high country to make sure how things are going. And we're very excited to have with us today David Jackson with the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce, of course, joining us from Boone, but coming all the way here to Charlotte to chat with us in person about how things are going, how small businesses are doing, what you're doing to support them, and how we can support small businesses too. So, David, thanks so much for making the trip here to Charlotte.
Yeah, thanks. I had to check out this heat that Brad's been talking about. So,
right, y'all don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, it's here for sure.
Yeah, the mountains have always been a haven for our household whenever the heat comes. But, you know, I feel like folks, anytime now, whatever the weather is, come on up, right? Y'all are open for business in Boone.
Yeah, that's right. And we've really made an extra emphasis on that, not only for Boone, but the entire western region of the state. You know, certainly people are used to seeing the images of what went on back in September, but what they haven't necessarily gotten their heads wrapped around yet is what it looks like now. You know, people have been very busy for the last 8+ months, repairing, rejuvenating the area. Now that we are in the prime season for Boone, you know, the outdoor economy always treats us well. And those river outfitters, those folks that guide you on the tubing trips, hiking guides, all of that, they have been incredibly busy making sure that those experiences are available. So whether that's all the way down in Cherokee on up to Sparta, those opportunities exist, and we want to make sure that people know that not only are tourism businesses open, but the rest of our economy is coming along quite well. Understanding too that there are always still some pockets of inconvenience here and there, but that's everywhere. We are on our way to healing, and really hope that this summer can be the bridge season that we really need it to be.
Now, we've been keeping an eye on some of your efforts with the chamber, you know, what y'all have been doing. In part, looks like you're doing pretty regular surveys of small businesses just to kind of get a temperature of how they're feeling. Are they struggling? Do they feel like they might be struggling eventually? And then also just kind of making efforts, which we can talk a bit more about with this resilience grant, the disaster resilience. But like, how are the surveys going? What are you finding from all of this research?
You know, I think we're optimistic now in that we are starting to see some patterns of stability. And stability does not necessarily mean back to what things looked like at this time last year. But what it means is that the roller coaster that we were on December, January, February, were not only the hurricane's impacts, but the cold winter that we had was great on the ski slopes, not necessarily so great for construction, for businesses getting some of those necessary repairs done. So as the spring has moved forward, we have seen businesses pretty much at an even keel, that down 20% seems to be the norm across retail, across some of the hospitality industries. That was kind of ending up in April. We're about to put out our May call to action now to see where things were, but the trends are moving in the right direction. That we're still seeing some of that I'll call it retail commerce down, but we are seeing visitor traffic start to improve, and we're seeing zip codes that are coming to the community come from farther away. So that means the messaging's getting out there. I think people are finding out, even from word of mouth, that their friends are coming to the high country. They're having a quality experience. They may still find some of those same places. Again, may take an extra second or two to get there, but they're still finding it to be the same welcome, warm place. And that is going to help us as we move into the summer see continued improvement in that. We're an economy that often in the summertime we depend on schools. So today is a huge day for us because Charlotte-Mecklenburg is out of school as of earlier this afternoon. That will drive this weekend. And as we see schools in Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro, some of the big metro areas, that's when our tourism really pops in the high country, and we're hoping to see those trends continue and that reporting follow as we get a little bit deeper into the summer.
Now, I know one of my favorite things to do when I go up to the high country is drive on the Blue Ridge Parkway, do some hiking. I know because because there are some great trails off of there and some great vistas to see. And I realize that there are still some closures, but slowly but surely we are seeing pockets start to open up and trails that start to get cleared out. And I know that's a slow process, but there are still places, right, that you can go and partake outdoors.
Yeah, and that's a great question, because this has been a dynamic conversation for the last couple of weeks. And we just actually had a group from the Parkway, Rachel Stasny, who is the acting superintendent of the Blue Ridge Parkway, was among a couple of guests from the Parkway just yesterday in Boone to tell us where we are on Parkway Helene damage recovery, but also, this is a two-part issue. You've got your Helene damage that was extensive on into Virginia and all the way down past Asheville. But back in 2001, the Great American Outdoors Act was passed and was advocated for by many of our tourism partners in the high country. And it's that work that has been suspended for a year outside of Blowing Rock, between there and Grandfather Mountain. That was supposed to lead to, in some cases, wide disruption in a very popular area of the Parkway this summer. We are thankful that through the work of Senator Ted Budd, the Trump administration, many others, NCDOT, they heard the call of business saying we cannot afford to have two falls of disruption in towns like Blowing Rock, on into Banner Elk, and some of those immediate Parkway communities. So the suspension of that work for a year is going to be incredibly helpful. That said, the Parkway and their contractors are working very quickly to remediate the final bits of Helene damage in Watauga County. We expect to see from Grandfather Mountain to the state line in Virginia open for access by the beginning of the fall. That is a tremendously popular stretch of the Blue Ridge Parkway, and we're excited to see that not only that will be open, but that will certainly open up the economic engine for the high country in the process.
Well, so you just mentioned, some of the policymakers and legislators that have been active in trying to aid with the recovery. I did want to ask, how are things going with that front? Because we know it's kind of a multifaceted recovery where you have government pitching in, you have people who are donating time or money, and then your organization, which we can talk, like I said before, about the grants that you've been doing for small businesses, but have y'all been doing any advocacy work to lawmakers, state level, federal level? How is that going? Are you getting what you need?
Yeah, advocacy has become our middle name, and really is the backbone of any chamber in any community throughout Western North Carolina, or really anywhere in the country. We have been very fortunate to have a strong coalition of partners throughout all of Western North Carolina. It's the Western North Carolina Chamber Business Coalition. We have united before on many things, like I mentioned, the Great American Outdoors Act just a few years ago. But in this case, we are in constant communication with lawmakers in Raleigh, Grow NC, Matt Calabria, Scott Elliott, all of the folks that lead that effort for Governor Stein have done an incredible job of just paying attention to what is going on, not only in our immediate area, but how some of these issues translate community to community, because we are so interconnected. So we are relying on county commissioners talking across county lines. We're relying on folks like our representative Ray Pickett in Watauga County, but Ralph Heiss, who represents most of Western North Carolina in the Senate, to not only take his experiences from those days back to his legislative portfolio, but to stay up to date on what the conditions look like now. And then obviously federal partners, it all trickles down. Governor Stein's office has been tremendous. We had his wife, First Lady Anna Stein, in the high country last week on the what we're calling the canoe trip, heard around the world, thanks to some further amplification of that on late night TV. But this is a bipartisan issue. Hurricane Helene seems to be about the only place where we're finding some synergy. And even within that, it is very important to us in Western North Carolina that the Helene bill passed by the House be pulled out of the budget process. We cannot wait 6 months or however long it's going to take for the House and the Senate to come together on their budget plan. That Helene recovery bill that was passed by the House is currently in the Senate's hands, and they want to take it in that direction. We would like to see that taken back out and seen as a standalone bill so we can get that help to people that need it. There's plenty to argue over with the rest of the budget process, and we can leave that to them. But that's where our advocacy goes, and we're happy to see that that is a region-wide effort. Again, from Asheville to Boone, Marion, Hendersonville, and beyond, we're all united in what's best for the business community and best for the quality of life for Western North Carolina. So with that, yes, we are burning up the roads to Raleigh just about any time we get the chance.
Yeah, and I keep alluding to the fact that y'all have this disaster resilience grant, which you've been helping a lot of businesses, and you've been getting a lot of applications asking for help. I checked in with some of the numbers, and I think at last time that I saw, and it was probably higher at this point, it was upwards of $500,000, but it's probably more, right? at
Yeah,
this point?
so our latest round, a third round of funding that's come through the disaster resilience grant through the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We put $520,000 out in the community in round 3. Part of that came through a $400,000 commitment from Mountain BizWorks, a tremendous partner of ours, a CDFI located out of Asheville. They got some very specific funding for what they call extreme rural downtown communities. So these are places like Lansing, Fosco, Valley Crucis, some of these not incorporated, but we know them to be very important centers for commerce in our individual counties. We have done this grant program in cooperation not only with Mountain BizWorks this time, but across an area that includes Watauga County, Ashe County, and Avery County. So places like Newland, into, I mentioned Lansing earlier, those are some of those communities that are the lifeblood of our outdoor economy areas. They are the river put-ins, and they're the places where people congregate after those great days on the hiking trails. They are among still some of the communities that have seen the least impact from some of the funding measures and just simply the time it takes to rebuild those communities. So I'll say this to nonprofits that are out there, whether it's the Boone Area Chamber Foundation, whether it's Samaritan's Purse, Wine to Water, some of these other organizations that have been so helpful. The nonprofits have really carried the direct grant load for this disaster at this point. That's not to say that state partners, especially in government, aren't doing what they can, and there's obvious coordination with FEMA that has gotten very complicated lately, but that is all still very bureaucratic in nature and is not necessarily trickling down to the people that need it fast enough. Now, Grow NC has done a great job of helping trying to find where some of those gaps are and take away some of that burden, but it's the nonprofits that have helped our community rebuild as fast. So we have raised over $1.2 million for our disaster efforts. That includes a $206,000 investment we made in wiping away the October tuition payment for about 36 licensed child care facilities in Watauga County to alleviate that burden, and then close to $1 million on its own in just disaster grant work. And we're about to get into round 4 again, too. We know the need is there. This stalled Helene recovery bill in the budget process has a grant attached to it that would be incredibly helpful for businesses. It's the first time that we've seen revenue loss brought into this conversation. So we know we're going to have to get our coffers filled back up again because this process is dragging on too long, and the nonprofit community is going to have to come through with big work again. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of other work to do too, but we know that for our region to fully recover, we've got to do this and we've got to make it a priority.
No, I recently got deployed to Asheville several weeks back, but it was around the time that Governor Stein was visiting, and we met him at a firehouse. He spoke some words about a really terrible situation where that particular community had lost, I believe it was around 13 people, all because of Helene, and a lot of them were from the same family. But I remember he spoke a figure as it pertains to economics, and when we speak of small business, I believe it was 40% of businesses don't reopen after a major disaster, and he said that this was something that needed to be avoided in the case of Helene. Is that a fear of yours that this might come to fruition? Do you feel like so far you're avoiding that fate, or do you feel like we're still kind of maybe heading down that path without help?
I would love to give you the Chamber of Commerce answer and say, yeah, we're fine, we're good, and we're not. We're just not. That statistic that Governor Stein mentioned comes from the Small Business Administration, and yes, 40% of businesses that have been involved in a disaster of this magnitude do limp along for a while and ultimately find that the circumstances are insurmountable. We are seeing that in Watauga County. We're seeing that in Avery County, Ashe County, and all throughout the western North Carolina region. That is a part of reality. Part of that reality is the timing of how aid is getting to people. The state of North Carolina has never been accused of getting money out the door as quickly as their constituents need it. And that's across all administrations. That's not a criticism. That is a fact, right? So what we are hoping is that through the work of Grow NC, through the work of what has mostly been, again, a bipartisan cooperation on this particular issue, that the House and Senate can see that timing is everything. That grant program that I mentioned earlier, it's again a revenue, tied to lost revenue, and that's where we're seeing those business closures coming from now. It's one thing to get your doors open again. What you do not get to rebuild in the time frame that we're in currently is the savings that you had to expend back in October, November when the doors were closed. Some of the overages that we're still seeing, insurance settlements lag. We're seeing FEMA kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Lack of coordination through FEMA being able to get reimbursements, or in some cases declining claims in that process, and that is keeping people back or having them have to put too much loan burden on what is already a shaky business model. So, it all points back to instability. I was talking about stability in that report you referenced a few minutes ago. Region-wide, we'd love to say that that's the case in all scenarios, but it's just simply not. And that's why it's so important that people are confident in being able to return and know the job that they can do for us this summer. And that's just bringing their pocketbooks and bringing their experiences back and helping some of those businesses survive until some of this bigger help can get to them.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that folks come through and do, head up there and see all that there is to offer in our high country. I guess additionally, is there anything else that folks can do? I mean, here in the newsroom, we've actually had some discussions about, what are some volunteer opportunities up there? I mean, can people come and clear trails? Because I know that's going to be a big game changer if we can get more trails open. What else could be done up there?
Yes, so we've actually found out some new information on some of that coordination just recently. I mentioned the Blue Ridge Parkway coming to meet with us just a couple of days ago in Boone. One of the things that has really emerged is a group called the Friends of Mountains to Sea Trail. So the Mountains to Sea Trail basically parallels the Blue Ridge Parkway until it moves into lower elevation around Ashe County. Those folks are essential in getting some of those highly utilized and in some cases still very badly damaged trail systems open around some of those popular overlooks and the Parkway accessible destinations. The Parkway's got plenty to do in repairing the road, and they've said that that's their priority. So, some of the ancillary campgrounds and trail structures, they just don't have the funding or manpower to address at this point in time. So the Friends to Mountains to Sea is a great opportunity. They're easily found on Facebook. They do require some skilled labor. We don't just need anybody with a chainsaw up there right now. We need people that have actually used one before. But there are other opportunities as well through the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation. Many local communities throughout western North Carolina, county to county, have long-term recovery groups that are hard at work. You can contact your favorite local county's long-term recovery group for some more specific efforts. We are removed from those times that we remember so well and what you guys covered so well back in October, November, of those mass volunteer gatherings. And Samaritan's Purse, the orange shirts, they were everywhere. That time has subsided. We don't necessarily need that broad scope, but what we need are more targeted things. So people with specific skill sets, especially as it relates to outdoor work, clearing some land still, helping people gather up some of their household and vegetative debris for the debris removal program that's at work right now. Those are the things that we still need. And again, communities are doing a great job coordinating that. They can be efficient with that. And if that needs to be part of your summer adventure, we've got plenty of opportunity for that throughout the region.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of folks who maybe need a summer adventure and maybe a summer project. It always does well for the soul to help your community. That's right. So that's something certainly to put on the calendar. As far as it being hurricane season, I did want to ask, what is the talk like around town? Are people going, we're in hurricane season again, we're still cleaning up from Helene, is there nerves going on at this point?
I will tell you, and from personal experience, anytime that we have a significant weather event, there are nerves. And I think anybody that's been on the coast through a hurricane could probably say the same thing. We just had a pretty significant rainfall event just a little over a week ago in Watauga County, and the anxiety that goes around the community is real. And I think that's something that we as leaders and community organizations need to continue to be there for folks, whether that is a program like ours at the Boone Chamber, Stable Workplaces, works with businesses to help get mental health first aid, not only for staff of a business, but for businesses to be able to deal with folks that may have issues that need to be addressed as they come in contact with them in the workplace, conflict de-escalation, things like that. But by and large, we saw that storm sitting off the coast just like you guys did at the beginning of hurricane season, and think not only, hey, what happens if we have something like that happen now, and again, a lot of work has gone into that resilience. But we also know, too, that there are other areas of our state that are equally as vulnerable as we were to the remnants of things. We have said all along, and believe this with every fiber of our being, that Western North Carolina is going to be alongside whoever this happens to next. We hope that we can get more of our deck cleared before that happens, but this community, I cannot tell you how grateful we are for the people that have their heartstrings connected to our region, that found a way, whether it was donations early, sending you guys the Amazon coats and sleeping bags that we more than deployed throughout the region, but also just the sweat equity, the time, connecting people and reminding them, hey, go to this place. It's one of my favorite places. That meant everything to us. We want to pay that back. So, however hurricane season impacts North Carolina, whether it's to us in the west or our partners in the east, or even like, Hugo right through here, we all know that it's possible. We want to be there, to help pay back some of this gratitude that we have seen no matter what happens.
That's a beautiful sentiment. I know, because we're all in this together, and some of the stories that we saw, and we shared with our viewers, the teams that were coming from different states and for a period of time being embedded with the operation, with the helicopters and the planes that were flying folks out. I mean, this was an incredible, showing of support, and I know that I can feel how that touched y'all, so that's great to hear.
Well, and Eugene Robinson can come back for an autograph signing anytime he wants. Yeah. People still talk about the days at Pinnacle Storage that you all had out there, and I do want to say thank you so much for that. I know we're removed from winter now. I can't even begin to express how much those supplies meant. We were able to partner with a number of agencies throughout Watauga County, the Children's Council of Watauga County, KPASA Appalachia, Cornerstone Summit Church did a great job of distributing those coats and blankets and socks and sleeping bags out into some far-stretched areas of our community that aren't necessarily as centrally located to get to some of those supply depots. And as I mentioned earlier, we had a pretty cold winter, so couldn't have come at a better time. And I know that those resources will be able to be utilized by families not only this past winter, but moving forward as well. And it's that kind of gratitude that we're talking about. We might not necessarily be able to leave our post right now and go grab a shovel and go east, but we can direct resources, and we do remember the partners that helped us. And so however we can be helpful in the future, that's the way we want to be.
Well, I can't speak for Eugene, but I feel like I can say that he would gladly go back up, and as would I. And
yes.
We had such a great time too with that effort, but also afterwards we had a great time going downtown and exploring some of the businesses there, and we ate at phys ed, and I dreamt about those cauliflower wings for weeks afterwards, and even went back to get them. So there's some really great stuff. We enjoyed kind of getting to explore too.
Well, and I think that's the part that we're hoping that through this summer and the Western North Carolina Open for Business campaign can remind people that, phys ed is open, as is Espresso News right across the street, and Lost Province Brewing Company, all those businesses in the Main Street communities throughout Western North Carolina. A number of them have found their way back, and those are the experiences that I think, for people that did donate money or donate their time or some of those resources, they can come back up there and shake the hand of the business they helped. They can hug that store owner That means something to not only us, but hopefully the people that did find a way to find connection back there. And, we're happy to see the Highland Games are going to be going on at Grandfather Mountain. Thomas, a week out with Thomas is getting ready to happen at Tweetsy Railroad. They're having a great start to their season. Boonerang is coming up on the streets, right where you were talking about at Phys Ed. That's kind of the main stage for that event. So as we see some of these larger gatherings come, I've said too that we've had 3 home football games and 300,000 skiers in the high country since Helene. We can handle this. We need you to help us, though. Those businesses that are trying to get themselves bridged to the fall are going to rely on this summer and people finding their way, prioritizing those vacations. But I will promise you this, you're going to find the same hospitality that you always have. You're going to find incredibly grateful people that will see you prioritizing coming to see them. I had a conversation just yesterday with River and Earth Adventures, Grant Seldenbridge, good friend of mine, and he said that there was a rafting group that came up. They stopped at River Girl and Todd, and they came to his place at River and Earth Adventures, and they said they did that because they saw those 2 places featured in some of the content from First Lady Anna Stein being in the Todd area just the week prior. That's everything to us right now. So the more you can prioritize those opportunities, I think that the quicker we're going to bounce back, as everybody says.
Yeah, so go and spread the word. Before we start to wrap things up, what have you learned, about yourself, about your community, coming through this storm?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I could boil that down to just the special nature of the people in our area. Appalachia culture is seen so negatively sometimes. It is portrayed in a negative way. It is really a beautiful thing when you see the way that people can be resilient and neighbors help neighbors. We're still seeing so much of that within our communities right now. Friends Road is still washed out. We're gonna go get that gravel and help them out. Big things, little things. We just got our school system year completed. Watauga County Schools dismissed on Friday. My daughter graduated from high school in the middle of all of this. Watauga County Schools was a beacon for us in keeping community united. Those partnerships, Appalachian State University's role in all of this, and not only the first few days after the storm, but now they are kind of the leaders in helping match up innovation and some of their intellectual capacity on campus with grants that are coming forward, some of the intricacies of those funding streams that can go to revitalization and rebuilding rivers and rebuilding some of that economic vibrance. Take people that are pretty smart and know what to look for in those things. So we are relying on one each other. I think reliance. Your community may be the place that you park your car and you walk inside your house every night. But when something like this happens, you're going to find out that people pay attention. They pay attention to their neighbors. They know what they can do to help one another. And when the call comes, they're going to answer. That's what we've experienced in Western North Carolina, certainly in the high country and in Boone. And I hope everybody else has their own pocket of that, should you ever need it, because it's a beautiful thing and it gets you through these times.
Yeah, mountain strong for sure. We saw it play out. We see it play out to this day. David, anything else you want to leave our viewers with here on Live Impact News?
Yeah, again, just a sincere thank you for everything that you all are doing here at WCNC. You've been tremendous partners from the start. Everybody, every show, everybody is communicated our needs well. I think our need right now is to kind of refresh the imagery, and part of the Western North Carolina Open for Business campaign has been meant to do that. Remember that what you saw in September is not what we're going through now, and there has been so much beauty that has come along from the rebuild, and in some cases building better than ever before too. So we're going to have these conversations going on for years, though, about what resilience looks like for Western North Carolina. So I would encourage those that are in those areas to engage in those conversations to make sure that our community is stronger the next time that this happens. But the best thing I can say is come and see us. We cannot wait to see you. We cannot wait to say thank you and appreciate the opportunity today.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
David Jackson, Boone Area Chamber of Commerce, thank you so much for spending some time with us and coming to visit Charlotte, and we're going to come to visit you.
Awesome. Can't wait.